thanks again for joining us, everyone, for the part 2 of our Samsung discussions here at the CEDIA Expo Tech Talks. So for this one, we're concentrating on 8K for the CI channel. We have the 8K TVs and 5-star support. And we're excited to have Scott Cohen, Senior Manager of Home Entertainment Training at Samsung Electronics America, here to discuss the company's approach to consumer 8K, as well as Samsung's 5-star solutions program, which equips custom installers with the right tools to create the best home entertainment experiences. So be sure after this talk, you can go check out more with them at booth 1013. So Scott, thanks for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
So, obviously 8K is where a lot of the video momentum is these days. Why is now the right time to get 8K TV into the market?
So that's a great question, and there's a few ways that we could approach answering it. And first we have to look at Samsung's history in this industry. And Samsung is known to come out with firsts. We're first to a lot of different technologies that are out there, and apparently we're first and early on with 8K. So this is kind of par for the course with Samsung to be launching early. But we're not just launching; we're launching with a full line. So we have 55, 65, 75, 82, and 98-inch sizes available. But the main reason is that TV size has gotten bigger and bigger over time. And for a long time before flat panel started, 32, 36-inch TVs were considered big, and we used to run at a much lower resolution. But as flat panel started to evolve with 42 and 50-inch plasma originally, we didn't have enough resolution. So we needed to go up to 1080p. And that lasted for a while. While 55-inch was considered a big screen, 1080p was good. But then a few years back, what happened was we moved over to 65-inch and larger, and 1080p just looked soft. There was not enough resolution, and 8K speaks to the number of pixels on the TV. So just to give you an idea, when you compare a 1080p TV to a 8K TV, there's 16 times more pixels. When you compare it to a 4K, it's 4 times more. So when we went to 65, 4K was the norm, and now that we're moving into 75, 82, and these larger screens are becoming more of a bulk of the TVs we're selling, added resolution is needed to keep up with the clarity. So the bigger you go, the more resolution you're going to want. Now, the other thing that we've learned from the industry is that although customers are choosing bigger screen sizes, they are not moving their seats back due to the constraints of the home, design, etc. So they're basically replacing the TV and sitting much closer to a larger screen. At some point, you'll be too close and you'll see the pixels. This is why we need to shrink the pixels, and the way you shrink pixels is by adding resolution. So with the trend of going bigger, 75 and up, the time for 8K is now.
So, clearly when 4K started coming around, we would hear, the different obstacles to the adoption to it, the lack of content, the infrastructure, the HDMI, making sure the high-speed cabling is available for all that. Are you hearing a lot of the same things with 8K? And then, when you do hear about those sort of pushback on it, what does Samsung say to that?
So yeah, there is some questions about source content being available, and we do get a lot of pushback. 4K is it popular enough already? Is there enough 4K stuff out there? And one thing I'd like to point out is that most of what we consider water cooler conversations about TV shows are coming from most of our streaming partners these days. So anything Netflix and Amazon Prime, which are the leaders in this category, are putting it out in 4K. So all of the hot new Netflix movies and TV shows, they're all in 4K. So the most popular programming being launched in the last few years is 4K. So the 4K ecosystem is strong. We're also seeing a trend to more streaming, which means the pipeline to get a higher resolution is coming through high-speed internet, not over the traditional cable lines. And as high-speed internet becomes more prevalent in home, as we move over to 5G, the ability to transmit 8K to the home is going to be there. So, there's a little bit of the chicken and the egg. Does the content come first, or the TVs come first? And the reality is the TVs need to come first, because if you don't have TVs in market, the content makers will not produce the content because no one will be able to watch it.
Sure.
So, it's supply and demand. We're supplying the TVs to our customers, and they're creating the demand for 8K content, which pushes these content creators to get up and create 8K. So I think that in the near future we'll start seeing more 8K. We already know that some movies are using 8K to shoot. They may be in post-production in 2K, but they are shooting in 8K and working with 8K cameras. We're aware that some popular sports are toying around with 8K cameras, maybe not necessarily to broadcast in 8K, but to use aspects of using an 8K camera for multiple camera angles, et cetera, and so forth. But we know that 8K cameras are out there, they're being used, which is really the precursor for launching full 8K content.
Yeah, I think the Olympics is doing 8K.
Yeah.
They're scheduled to do that.
So,
are
yeah.
you seeing a similar curve to the 8K adoption that you did with 4K, or does it seem more accelerated, less accelerated at this point?
It's hard to say since, in 2018, Samsung only had one 8K TV. Now we have a whole line of 8K TVs, so it's going to take some time for us to compare numbers. But what I can tell you is that 8K TV is very popular for Samsung. For anyone looking for a flagship TV with the best picture and the best feature set and the best design, they're looking to Samsung 8K. Because in addition to adding all of the resolution, Samsung's 8K TVs are the best TVs we've ever created, therefore have the best in contrast and color, etc., and so forth. We also know another industry which is near and dear to Samsung, also mentioned in the last presentation, are the gamers.
Sure.
The gamers are a big part of our customer base and a group that we really look to. And we've heard announcements from two of the leading game console companies that they're looking to do 8K for their next editions, which are supposedly coming out next year. So for customers that are gamers, they're not going to want to buy a premium TV in 4K this year, only to have to repurchase it next year. So this is a really good example of chicken or egg. You need a TV today, you're getting 8K tomorrow. You need to buy it today. And speaking of the gamers and just going off on a little tangent from 8K and showing the importance of gaming to Samsung is that Samsung has an auto game mode. It's a game mode feature that lowers lag. What it's doing is it's shortening the signal path through our TV so that when a gamer is playing a game and hits the button, what happens on the screen is the minimum amount of lag time. Samsung has multiple features within game mode, but one of the cool things we did is it's automatically turned on. So when I want to play Forza and I turn it on, the TV automatically switches to game mode, lowers my lag time, and gives me an advantage against anyone I'm playing with. And then conversely, when I want to go back and watch regular TV, the TV recognizes that and switches off game mode so that I have the proper viewing experience for watching TV. So the gamers are someone we're looking really closely at. We actually, for anyone who's a first-person shooter game, some people like to exploit contrast weaknesses. If you've ever played a first-person shooter, people hide in the shadows. See a muzzle flash, you die, it sucks. So we have a contrast enhancement that really looks at minute details in contrast for gamers and brings those things out so that there's no hidden obstacles or enemies in your area. So we're really trying to give the gamers, an unfair advantage by using Samsung TVs.
So they could be among the early adopters too, and really push that market.
Yeah, I do believe they will be in the early adopters. And one of the questions we get is that Samsung did launch a 55-inch 8K TV, and we do get some questions about, 8K is really about moving up in size to the 75-inch.
Right, I was going to ask you about
Here
that.
you are with a 55-inch, but for gamers that are serious, they want pixel for pixel resolution, and if they're moving into 8K, gamers tend to like smaller TVs. If too big of a TV, the gamer has to look all over for movement, where if they can keep the whole screen in their field of view, it's much easier to navigate and take advantage. So there are smaller 8K TVs that take advantage of that as well.
Sure. And in terms of some of the other features that seem to be resonating with consumers, besides the auto with the gaming, what are some of the other things involved?
The key feature that everyone's really talking about right now, and it really does tie into the opening here, which is there's not much 8K content yet, but coming, is the artificial intelligence upscaling that Samsung employs on our 8K TVs, but as well as our 4K TVs. But speaking of 8K, we are basically have a supercomputer that is looking at low resolution and high resolution pictures and figuring out the best way to upconvert it. And when we're talking about upconversion and raising the resolution and adding pixel information, we're talking about algorithms. There's an algorithm that's written that handles it, and what we're trying to do is not just upconvert, but we need to maintain texture, edge detail, and we have to minimize noise. These are the three enemies of upscaling. So the supercomputer is figuring out new algorithms, and when it does, it will be able to firmware update all the TVs out in the field. so that, for those that feel like 8K, they may be an early adopter, they're not going to be locked out of future programming that Samsung is employing and working on, as we'll be able to update those TVs with the new algorithms so that they can have the best upconversion experience possible.
All right. Samsung, obviously, you guys have the QLED technology. Can you tell us a little bit about what we can expect from that technology, and then how it's impacted, the latest TVs that'll be rolling out, like the Q900?
Sure. So Samsung adopted QLED, or quantum dot, that's what the Q stands for, a few years back, and we find it in most of our series of TVs. So Samsung has a 4K QLED line, which includes a Q60, Q70, Q80, Q90. Our 8K TV is the Q900. We additionally have the frame TV, which is a TV that's TV when it's on and when it's off. It's using our QLED technology. And our Serif design piece, which is also at the booth, also uses our QLED technology, or quantum dots. And the reason we're using quantum dots is we're looking at a technology for color. We're looking at this wide color gamut, as well as 100% color volume. Let me take a second to explain what color volume is. You may have a favorite sports team, and that jersey, we'll just pick a team randomly. We'll talk about the New York Giants. They wear blue. I'm from New York. It's not a good time to be a Giants fan, but nonetheless, that blue, it should look the same whether it's high noon or it's night and it's under the lights. But as we raise and lower the brightness of blue, it may lose its accuracy. So color volume speaks to keeping the color accuracy through the luminance. So if I'm watching a game, cloudy day, sunny day, or at night, or I'm wearing a jersey of theirs at a dim, room, the blue should always look the same, and that's what color volume does. And it's important because high dynamic range is a thing now. It's high dynamic range is pushing TV brightness further than ever before, and the ability to keep the colors accurate during the brightest explosions or the dimliest lit scenes is a very important thing, which is why Samsung employed quantum dot as a technology for our TVs.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the upscaling, the AI upscaling, in terms of what integrators need to know about it? Does it work better with certain content? Like live versus recorded, animated versus real world, anything like that?
So, the better the signal in, the better the signal out. But, we've been playing some 1080p content and 4K content upconverted to 8K at the booth, so anyone can come to the Samsung CEDIA booth and take a look at that. We have a great upscaling demo, which actually puts some split screen up circles, which you should be looking at. So, as far as the integrators are concerned, artificial intelligence is about updating the algorithms to the TV. When they install the TV, there should be no issues or concerns about this. However, when we do push out updates, they do go over the network. So for an integrator, the TV does need to be on a network. They may want to select the auto update method so that the TV automatically updates on its own, or wait and see at Samsung.com to when we push, and then they can call their clients and either make a service call or have them hook up to the internet then.
Is that something where they should be notifying the customers, hey, while it's updating, something might be going on, or just to let you know your TV is going to get some new features? So
it's a great question, and Samsung sends out updates quite often. Well, not quite often, but throughout the year there are some updates. Updates can be anything from adding a new app, to changing or adding a new menu in the picture settings. So those happen in the background. They're not. They don't interfere with your normal viewing. Normally, you'll just see a message across the top. TV is receiving an update, and that would be the only intrusion you have. Okay.
And what about some other integrator-friendly features of the Q900 and some of the other sets?
Yeah, sure. So there's some really, really cool stuff. So first off, one of the new exciting announcements for Samsung here at CEDIA was 2 additional IP control partners. Here at CEDIA, IP control is very important, as is 232. So Samsung now supports 8 partners for IP control. The 2 new ones would be Arlen and Josh. So really, depending on what, many installers have a preferred IP control system they're familiar with programming and using, and now they can use it with Samsung. So having all those covered is a very important thing. Samsung has a 5-star solution which offers a portal, and within that portal is all the IP and 232 codes, CAD drawings. So if you have a bizarre install and you need to know exactly where the whole pattern is, that could all be told from the CAD drawings. And in addition, The Q900 and the Q90 do come with our One Connect box, which is a separate box that plug all your HDMI cables in, your Blu-ray player, your gaming system, your cable box, etc. And then there's a thin wire that runs up to the TV on the Q90, Q900 and frame. The cool thing is you do not have to plug the panel into the wall for electricity. Only plug this cable in, run it down to the box. So we offer an in-wall and an on-wall solution for the cable, really depending on the install. But many homes that the CEDIA installers are working on are retro, meaning there may have been an older TV there with all the HDMIs already run to the location. And for those, we are showcasing in our booth how to use a built-in in-wall box to house our One Connect solution, so that everything can be housed right behind the TV, whether it's a frame, a small frame like a 55 or 49, or all the way up to our 98-inch Q900.
Yeah, I was going to say obviously a lot of customers, this will be a new product, just a new display that they have in there, but it's got to be a real compelling reason for integrators to go back to previous existing customers and saying, yeah, you still have your 1080p, here's what we have now. Do you expect that conversation will happen a lot, and then when it does, what will those retrofits look like in terms of any sort of challenges between switching from what they have and putting in new 8K?
So, but there's not going to be any issues with a retro if you're putting the One Connect solution directly behind the panel in a back box. So there's no issues there. If you are going to move the One Connect box to a cabinet or somewhere else, you're gonna be pulling some wires for a bit. So I don't really see any other things. But interestingly, there are some great companies here that make some great products, and one of the products is a splitter that allows you to show multiple channels on one screen. You can split your screen into 4, 16, etc. And people are asking me, how can we use the added resolution? Well, on a 98-inch 8K TV, if you use a multiplex switcher, you could split it into 4, and that would be 4 4K TVs at 49 inches. So imagine watching, 4 football games, different games at the same time, each one in 4K.
Sure.
But for our 1080p customers, they can split that again and have 16 1080p images up, and they can watch all 16 different games at once at the same resolution they used to on one 8K screen. So, for the creative installer that wants to add more to the bucket, build some profit, add some real great value for the customer, using 8K and then a splitter to run multiple sources on there at once is a grand idea.
Yeah, that's certainly a great solution. Speaking of the installers, obviously, it sounds a lot like the 5-star solutions. It's something that really is one of Samsung's pushes to do more and show more commitment to the CI channel. So let's talk a little bit about what's involved with 5-star solutions. Is it an authorized dealer program, or is it just perks for dealers to come in and use?
Yeah, so it's perks for dealers to use. So there is a portal you do need to sign up, and once you sign up, you'll have access to the portal. You'll also have access to our hotline, so if you do need a tech and need to get in touch with Samsung, there is a hotline there for you. The CAD drawings are there, the IP controls are there, so it's really a one-stop shop for a CI person to installer or integrator to go and get all the information they want. And if by chance their information is not there, there's a hotline for them to call and get the answers. We really, Samsung for the last few years here at CEDIA has been growing our booth and growing our business, and the reason that it is growing is because we've made such a commitment to this channel to be there for them and their needs, which are unique compared to some of the other retail outlets in the country.
Are there certain types of sales resources that they can go to? Do you have certain trainings? I know we talked about this in the previous session about the wall, but of course with that, Samsung right now is doing the installations for them. In terms of 8K and bringing that into a dealer's showroom, what's involved there in terms of training that they need to go and do to learn how to be proficient with 8K and everything that goes with it, and extra sales support, demo material, sales pitches, things that they're able to, possibly script for dealers who are going to be selling 8K for the first time?
That's a great question. So since I do run the training division, I can tell you there is a ton of training available on 8K. We have like interactive modules, we have training videos, and we have training documents. So through the distributors, rep firms, any of that material can be requested or can be requested directly from Samsung, and we would share it out depending on what your learning platform is and how you want to receive it. We would have it, but everything from handouts to PowerPoints to training videos to animations, when it comes to training, Samsung has it all. So it's just a matter of just requesting it and getting the proper one. One thing that we hadn't talked about as Samsung is moving into big screen, and we kind of talked about the frame a little bit, but there is a feature that's on all of Samsung QLED called ambient mode. And this has been a really big hit. Ambient mode basically hides the TV in plain sight. Even back in the day when we were talking about 36-inch, they still fit an armoire or a cabinet. You can close it away when you don't want the room to be a TV room. But 65, 75, you can't hide these TVs. And many people don't have a dedicated TV viewing room. The room they view TV in is the same room they entertain family in. So ambient mode is a way to get rid of the black screen. And what it is it's a fancy screensaver, in one light, but there are a few different things you can do with ambient mode. If you do mount the TV on the wall, you can take a picture of the TV and the wall around it, and the TV will mimic that wall. So if it's bricks, it'll continue the brick pattern. If it's wallpaper or textured, it'll continue the texture. So it creates almost like a transparent looking screen on the wall. So it makes it, it really enhances the decor of the room. It doesn't detract. However, once you have it matching the wall, you can add all sorts of things from ambient modes that are very relaxing and for yoga or meditation. We have some stuff great for parties. We have some really cool ambient modes for kids' rooms. So Samsung ambience becomes such a big thing for Samsung that we wanted to make sure we had an ambient for every time of the day and every person in the house. So whether you're 6 or 60, meditating or partying, that TV should be blending into the decor and enhancing your lifestyle, not sitting up there as a black void. Big rectangle. So
and that's something that the consumers can go and do themselves once they, or
so
do they work with their dealer to?
So the consumer can do it themselves and play with it through our Smart Things app, which I highly recommend. I just mentioned wall generation, but a lot of customers do not mount the TV. It goes on a table stand, and for those customers, we have a neat real feature where, let's say you had earth tone curtains in the room. You can actually take a picture of the curtains and it would drag that color scheme over to the TV screen so that it blends in with the room decor. The ambient mode does have a timer so it can go off when you need it. And some of the ambient modes are interactive. We have a living wallpaper, I like to call it, where it's a mountain range. If it's sunny outside, it's sunny in our mountain range. If it's raining outside, it's rainy in our mountain range. The birds chirp during the day and the crickets chirp at night. So really creates a nice little atmosphere. But with Samsung, we're always looking at 3 different things. We're looking at picture quality, and I think we talked a lot about that with 8K QLED. We look at design, and we talked about ambient mode. We talked about the One Connect box. So the other thing that we talk about a lot is smart. And Samsung Smart is we're smart from the moment you open it up. So for installers, one of the tasks that they say is difficult is finding the home router and getting the password and network information so that they can enter it into the TV. But with Samsung and a mobile device, either iOS or Android, the TV can sync up with that phone, and the phone shares the internet network and password information with the TV. This changes that step from what could be 5, 10, 15 minutes just to find the router to a 1-minute step. So Smart starts there. We work with digital assistants like Google and Alexa. You do need to have a microphone like a Dot or something in your home. We also work with our own Bixby, and that's built into the remote. So there's a remote, there's a microphone on the remote that can help you get to anywhere. So voice control is there, no matter whom your digital assistant is. Samsung is right for you. If you don't have a digital assistant, Bixby can come in to help. We have a smart remote, which is Bluetooth and pretty intuitive, with a smart menu that is based on our own operating system, which gives you a preview. So if you hover over like your Netflix icon, it actually lets you know what you were watching last and gives you some other popular content, so you can jump right back into that. Full web browser on board, so if you need to search the web for anything, that's there too. So full smart TV. And then there's another group besides the gamers we like to address, which are the cord cutters, the people that are trying to get away from conventional cable and a dish. And for them, we have Sling, we have YouTube Live TV, we have Hulu Live. So even for that group, our smart platform is there for them and meeting their needs.
I know we had mentioned the frame before. Are we looking at a roadmap where that'll come out in 8K as well?
I haven't seen the roadmap on the frame. I can tell you it does very well for us, especially within this channel. And I do believe there'll be some exciting news in the near future about frame.
Good to know about that. What are some of the other things that integrators should know about or need to know about, or can just get support from Samsung in terms of just being able to sell more 8K TVs, going from what they have now and trying to then, convince their clientele, all right, don't worry about the 4K anymore, let's look to see how you can do 8K.
So, I think the big thing is explaining to the customer the purpose. You're going much bigger without moving your seat back. You really should look at a higher resolution TV. You want to kind of future-proof yourself for the near future, and we all know the 8K ecosystem is building. It's building fast. I think maybe a second company just announced another 8K camera for the home or consumer. So really what you want to do there is just create that need by stating you're going bigger, you should go better. Other things that integrators may want to be aware of is our soundbar. Our soundbars that Samsung makes, although most of the integrators here use beautiful high-end home theater systems, the bedrooms, those secondary rooms, the guest rooms, they don't get more than a TV. And Samsung has some great soundbars that really can create that home theater effect for your guests and your bedrooms and rooms that are outside of the main home theater.
And in terms of adding 8K TVs into what's already in their showrooms, have you had some pretty good discussions with integrators that are having success in terms of signage in their showrooms, or where they're placing the TVs, or anything else that they're doing in terms of demo script with clients that they should start thinking about?
The main thing for the retail displays is that they're showing 8K content, or the best content available. All Samsung 8K TVs have built-in 8K content, so you can run the internal loop to really showcase the best of the best. However, I do recommend, if you're not going to do that, use a higher resolution source, because as I said, the better their source in, the better their source out. So run some 4K content on there.
In terms of just the 8K ecosystem, I know we just talked very briefly about that, and I know Samsung has done a lot with the 8K TV Association. What can you tell us just a little bit about just some recent developments with the entire 8K ecosystem in terms of creating it more, even beyond the TV?
So the 8K ecosystem is a few things. One is the content. We talked about that, video gaming, Olympics. The other is the pipeline, which you mentioned earlier, which is HDMI spec. And everyone's waiting for the full spec of HDMI 2.1, which is not fully available. But we do know what a lot of the key features are, such as eARC and 60 frames of 8K and et cetera and so forth. So we're meeting all of those. So, as far as content, it's coming. The pipeline, it's there. We're just waiting on the spec, but we support most of the features that we believe will come with the spec. And obviously, the TV's ready to go. I mean, we have 33 million pixels, and if you send us 33 million pixels worth of information, we'll give you the most detailed, lifelike picture you've ever seen.
And the TVs that you'll be showing here this week, when are those available? Are they out now, or are they going to be coming out soon?
All of the TVs we're showing in the booth are available today. We are showing a nice wall of one size, 55, 65, 75, 82, and 98, so you can really grasp it. We also built a huge montage, 16 8K TVs built out to make one large picture. The beautiful waterfall, we're showing a little sports on there, and some NASA footage. That was originally shot in 8K, so you can really come to the booth and get a full breadth of what Samsung is pushing with 8K.
Great. And how about in terms of who Samsung is working with these days to help push this ecosystem, vendor partners that you can talk to us about?
There's unfortunately no one that I can share at this time. However, there have been talks with content providers about moving into 8K. 8K is talked about quite often when we're talking about 5G. Because that's so fast that it's no problem to bring in that level of resolution.
Great. Well, Scott, thanks a lot for sharing Samsung's plans today and joining us here on the stage.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thanks everyone for joining us today.